Welcome to Nature's Neighbor. I am your host, Melanie Blankenship, and this is going to be a really fun podcast today on this beautiful Monday, October Monday, when the sky is cloudy. I definitely feel the barometric pressure in my joints because it's feeling like it's going to storm out there. It's cool. And the forecast is calling for quite a bit of rain here on the Central Coast. So, we're off to a whole different start in a kind of a hello, here comes fall kind of a day.
Hello, here
Joshy.
we are.
So,
Yeah.
I'm your host, Melanie
Winter's
Blankenship. Josh Carmichael Environmental. But this is kind of going to be a fun show because we have a really exciting guest, a near and dear friend to Josh and I, and somebody that, on this Monday, whether it be a holiday or not, we want to talk about cultures. We want to talk about history and knowledge from the soil to the table. Nature's Neighbor has always kind of been that base of bringing those topics to the forefront and having these open discussions of all of that. And
In
Josh,
this place, too, where we are and where we roam each day, so...
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to introduce Shawnee Briggs. Shawnee is Josh and I's good friend, but she also carries the title of Native American Woman Chef. It just rolls, right? Hi, Shawnee, and thank you for joining us. She's coming via Zoom because she couldn't be in the area, but, good thing for technology, huh?
Good thing. Thank you for having me. It's very nice to be here. Like you said, I'm Selenan, born and raised in Baywood Park.
Yeah.
And so lifelong California girl, and I love food.
Yes.
Growing it, cooking it, finding it.
I love talking recipes with
Wearing
you.
it.
Yeah, wearing it.
Yeah.
I mean, the years that you and I have been close and throwing just ideas or, what you're producing and what you're growing and what you're making has always been a joy. And to have you on here and to just start talking about native recipes, traditions around this time for your history and your legacy that you carry on. I'm excited to have this conversation. So yeah, Baywood Park, San Luis Obispo County, to some of the listeners that are not from the area, but at the same time, we're all neighbors and we're all from the same community. Yes, she was born and raised in Baywood, but before the show, she said she quickly came to Templeton.
Yeah.
So I got to throw that in there a little bit. So, Shawnee, share with us what's stimulated you to be the chef that you are. What drives the desire that you have?
Well, my whole family is really into food, growing it, finding it. A lot of fishermen and divers in our family. When I was a little girl, there was plenty of seafood to go around. And my dad was good friends with the Filipino farmers there in Baywood Park, and they would teach him how to cook vegetables, and he would bring them fish. And so there are other cultures inspiring our dishes from, Italian aunt that married into the family to the Filipino friends and lots of seafood and abundance. I understand our privilege living in a 10-month growing season here in California.
Right? And there's no joke, it's a privilege. Even, looking at it, getting ready to rain and being ornery about complaining about it being cold because I enjoy the warmth. But it's funny to see what's coming already. Horseradish is going to start getting dug, and Brussels sprouts and
Pumpkins
mustard.
are here.
Well, pumpkins are picked, and it's time to enjoy because
it's time to eat them.
It's
We've been doing that lately, which is great.
But Shawnee, let's talk a little bit about the native cultures, the Selenan recipes that you grew up with, that you locally sourced. I know what's your history of the indigenous culture that you're from to the table. What inspires you in those?
The seasons. Our people, our ancestors were very disruptive. when the colonizers came in, and, there was a many decades disruption. So I don't really have a lot of straight up recipes from way back when people were living off the land all the way. I have California inspired recipes, where we continued the legacy of finding what was in season. So, like I had we called her grandma, but Frances Sherman is a Mono Indian over in the Sierras over in North Fork, and she taught us to catch fish in the canals with our hands, and we would pick pine nuts and acorns and prepare them. Sour berries, which I just learned is the lemonade berry. I mean, for years as an adult, I was like, no, sour berries, and nobody knew what I was talking about.
What is the
So it's
botanical
just
for sour berries?
Well, yeah, the sour berries up there, it should be a roost, but the sour berries grow really smaller up there, and then down here at the coast, they grow a lot bigger.
So like a
So-
coffee
Yeah.
berry?
Kind of, but it's more like
That's different. Yeah.
the roost. We have a sugar bush. We have a lemonade berry roost integrifolia. And up there, yeah, I know some Ron Good with the North Fork Mono tribe. He likes to,
Right.
burn the sour berry patches down. He's like, oh, look at that one. It's very full of lichen and overgrown. He's like, let's burn it and it'll become 3-foot straight stalks for the basket weavers. So they'll be happy. And then also
Yeah.
afterwards, the berries come, anew. So it's, yeah.
What color do you harvest them for actual sweet juice?
They're like a
Well,
reddish
they don't
orange, I
make a
guess.
juice. They have a sour outer
Coating.
skin.
So you could do jams, like same thing with manzanitas. We were just picking a lot of big berry manzanitas from up here in the North County. And I was telling one of my Chumash aunties, I was like, hey, I have a bunch of these. I try to eat them, but the seed's so big, there's not a lot of meat. And she's like, oh, you know what? These are really beautiful for beads. And then
Yeah.
Auntie Jeanette likes to take the skins and make a jam from them. So it was like, all the plants have so many beautiful parts, like, bringing up pine nuts. I have lots of great jewelry, necklaces made from pine nuts, from our gray pines, but also so delicious to put into recipes. Me being Italian in California, so my roots really go to that. So, we made some kind of wild pesto the other week with a lot of people putting, different ingredients into that and, having that roots, but then learning the plants of California, running around, as a kid and sort of studying the ecology. And then once I really met a lot of, the local peoples and native peoples, I was able to get my hands on more of the foods or see the plants as food or, the stories that go with it. And so it's really fun to add all those things in. I just was sending some pictures to Shawnee earlier about some mushrooms we've been finding lately. So we've been getting these chicken of the woods. And it was the first season I picked them. So I'm really excited because once you learn something, you can't unsee it. So then it's kind of like you get to recognize it. And me and a friend were like, let's go watch sunset real quick. It'll be really, nice to get out of the house for a minute. And then we're going to come make dinner and just a quick walk there into the woods,
You found treasures.
Yeah, right on the bayfront. There was some great stumps putting out. Well, I mean, one was like, I can't even put it on screen. It was like bigger than, 2, 3 hands.
It was a chicken of the woods?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting because
Yeah.
I haven't seen chicken of the woods
Up here
wild
yet. Oh.
for a while. Like
Yeah.
way back, we would see it, but I haven't seen it in a while. And I mean, honestly, it's what I'm seeing is a lot of turkey tails on the wood.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, but nothing in the.
You need to go to Baywood Park, I think.
Obviously,
you do.
it's that
You're due for a
coastal
trip to Baywood Park.
influence, right? That's exciting. All right, John, continue. I want to hear more of your memories because it's fun because, we all share, especially for Josh and I that grew up here as well. We all share that same, seasonal desire, right? That going
Love
out
of this place all year.
loving
Yeah.
of this place and being able to share, going out and finding seasonal, goodies. But at the same time, look what we just talked about, how there's a native culture and a native species of plants that so many don't even realize that are just growing wild, that are edible, that are also used. You remember as a child, you were drinking a juice that, you collected, and yeah, you remembered it being called what you'd heard, but realistically it was something else. This is my desire to try to capture recipes and capture this knowledge, because if you and I and Josh don't share these conversations, where is it going to go, right? And there's so many of our next generations that have no idea what there is naturally out there. And that is where I love our connections, to be able to maybe inspire and entice people to forage, to recognize, to preserve, to conserve, and to protect. So we can have it for future generations. But, being that it is today, and really sharing cultures, please continue on sharing with us all
Your favorite foods.
the foods that, well, I know she's made, but share with our viewers of more of your recipes.
Well, first I want to go back to what Josh was saying about the manzanita berries. He touched on how many uses. You can make a tea. All you have to do is just pick a handful of manzanita berries and put them in hot water. It makes a lovely tea that's nutritious. It's good for you. It's delicious. You can take the outer edges and just make a fine powder to accent something, which is what you do with the sour berries too. Either eat them with a salt shaker right off the bush, or use them as a seasoning later on. But what really resonates with me is how to really be able to know when these foods are really at their best. It really requires, or optimally, you have more of a connection with the land. Picking things at their very ripest. This past week, we picked bayberries from the
the bay
California
nuts.
Bay Tree.
Yeah, those are really good.
Those are fantastic. They're nutritious. They have a fun little coffee-like stimulant to them, and they're
Chocolatey
delicious. But there's
tasting.
a very fun window of when to pick them.
California, Laurelus californica?
Yeah, no, that one's Loris.
Laurelus californica.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Well, let's
so medicinally,
Umbularia californica.
Umbularia.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because the true California bay, I'll talk botanical or common names.
Yeah.
The true, so the leaves in the tea stimulates respiratory medicinally. It pushes. It's an extractant, so it pushes phlegm,
Yeah.
or you need that deep breath. You steam it. To be able to have it. So I've never played with the actual berries.
Yeah, the nuts are really good.
This year, I don't know if you've been to the North County, my region of York Mountain. Those berries are huge this year. I think it's one of the bigger years I've ever seen. They're abundant this year. I think because of the moisture and the temperature is definitely making them larger. So I'm excited. Okay, keep going on that recipe, because I have a huge harvest of them this year, and would love to have some recipes to play with.
So when you pick those at their very prime time, when they're just right, just falling off the tree or just fell, the outer shell has an edible portion. It's a very fine window when that's edible. And try it and see if you like it. But then the inner nut, you crack it and roast it, and you get to the very inner nut, and it's between a chocolate and a coffee. It's very exotic.
It's
very delicious.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is
I like to
exciting.
keep
I like to crush them and put them like on a topping or something. If you're doing a
Yeah.
dessert type of thing, and
Just like a
maybe with
sprinkle
honey.
kind of thing.
Yeah, just a little sprinkle, but they are so
Yeah.
chocolatey. It's so
And
great to see.
you can use them in a cake. I've done them in a cake with acorn flour and some other flours. The thing about the special whole food, true, real grains and nuts and things that make flours is you need to mix them with other friends. So straight up 100% acorn is less desirable than our taste buds are used to nowadays. We're spoiled with all the refined foods. So I'll mix acorn flour with brown rice flour and ground nuts.
Yeah, I like-
hazelnuts or almonds.
Yeah, the acorn flour is so precious too, because you're really making your own. So it's not a lot.
It's a lot.
So
Very rich.
I've mixed it with other flours, like you're saying, like a white flour or something, or to make cookies, or you can do polenta. It's really nice. I've done some acorn polenta cakes with it. So
So question on the acorns. what species do you guys choose to
Well,
tend
that's a
to
good
go
question. Let's
to
see.
go to when you're making your acorn flour?
I mean, the Valley Oak was the favorite of our ancestors. They're big and nutty. The Tan Oak is great, but you have to go higher up into the elevations to find that.
Yeah.
Although it's written in the books, ethnographers wrote about it as if it was more prolific down in the lower valleys back in the day, but it isn't so common now.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
think
tan
it's
barker
very-
in Monterey County.
Yeah,
Big Sur.
I do
Yeah,
notice that
right.
like our soils are a little bit more rich, right, and more dense. As those tannin oaks seem to
Yeah.
need that drainage, right? So as the elevation is higher, they're getting more of a
Yeah,
drainage.
steeper
Yeah,
slopes
they're
for
getting the
those
drainage.
ways.
Where our soils now are, have been graded and grazed and they're flat and dense now, where there's not the aeration that
Sure.
those oaks are so used to having. So
What about black oaks, Shawnee? Is that
Do you-
something you use much?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
I
had
haven't
friends that
used
really
it,
like
but
that. and-
they're delicious. Isn't it black oak that's good right off the tree? Like very much less.
Less tannins.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
over as they age, that's what my question too, because I've heard this before. Over aging time, they do intensify in the acidity. Is that the case? So you guys see, like when you guys harvest them, or when you harvest them, do you store the nut, or do you actually store the flour? It's better to store the nut, right?
Yeah. The more refined something is, the less lifespan
Ben
it
it's gonna
has.
have, right? And then but then as it aged, they actually produce a little bit more acidity.
Well, they have a lot of tannins in them, so you really want to leach them. So there's so many ways that people leach them. I mean, like you said, traditionally, and some of my, kind of indigenous aunties, they had, one had a little waterfall on her property, so she kept them in bags so the bears wouldn't get them, and they could be through moving water. I've heard of people burying them, in bags in the soil that's damp, near the creek or something, or you can do water exchanges. I built a little leaching table one time for Auntie Jeanette, and it was, leaching the flour. So then when you have kind of that more surface area, quicker, to kind of process it that way out.
Ooh, fun.
And you got to do some grading, when you pick them. That's where fire was really a great tool. I know in the past, centuries, I guess we'll say, when people were able to, kind of really harvest, what was abundant there like that. You can get rid of the kind of the worms or the moth, larva and stuff. So you got to take your acorns and then float them and see if there's meat in them or not. And then from there you can, store them or process them, where you kind of roast them. I mean, that's a big process. I don't know if we want to talk about all the steps for that, but that's a great staple
Yeah,
food,
let's
right?
just go straight to the flour.
It's
Lots of ways to leach them.
but it's kind of people have asked that, because everybody's talking about driving into Nature's Touch right now, and all the acorns are raining.
Oh,
Right now on the
yeah.
parking lot, it actually has been sounding like it's raining because of how many acorns are falling
On your roof.
on the metal roof, and so we've been talking a lot about this. So it's kind of fun that you drove the conversation to this, because I have a lot of people just curious, right? They hear about people eating acorn flour, but do they ever see it? No. You got to
Do they know how to process it all the way? Sure.
Do they know
That's
how
a
to
lot
process
to
it?
do,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a commitment. The thing is it's a commitment. And if we just drag this back a little bit to, do people actually cook nowadays,
right.
It's a big ask just to get people to take flour and sugar and water and mix them together to cook something at all. But to make the flour, that's definitely another level of commitment, right?
Yeah, any grain, right? Like
But again,
grinding corn
my
or-
goal is to capture this knowledge, because at the same time, what I am always continuously going up against is people will be curious. People will be stimulated by an idea or a thought, and I'm the lucky one that gets them when they're coming in there. Hey, Melanie, where do you get acorn flour? And it's like, well, whoa, wait, we got to go back like centuries. Like, where do you go? So my desire has truly become capturing this, because if we don't capture it, look at us, like just exactly what you said. Let's go back and see if anybody cooks anymore. You and I, we all know that things change. Seasons change. Cultures change. We all gravitate or mutate or migrate, right? We all migrate, and resources change, so we migrate. But at the end of the day, in our society now, what I'm finding, not only are we losing resources because of really truly lacking the knowledge of what a resource really is. And then at the same time, how do we carry this knowledge forward? Yeah. Who's keeping track of all this? Who's keeping recipes? And honestly, you can't get to a person's mind or heart unless you go through their mouth first.
Yeah.
So we might as well capture these recipes, talk about them, teach them, and share look at how many species of oak trees, acorns we just talked about.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has their own favorite depending on where they're from, right?
But also too, it's like in the different regions
yeah.
of where people can actually capture their own.
Yeah, I usually tell people, they're like, wow, where can we buy this flour? And I was like, well, what you got to do is just get a bunch of friends together, go into the woods by your house and gather them and then process them. And so I think that's where a lot of this lies, is that you can't really do this alone or in a vacuum. And food is love, and it's something that is just made to be shared, right, and given, and it's so
communal.
Yeah, it is such a unifier across cultures. I mean, like we said, we can talk about all these backgrounds that we have and where we come from or who we are, and that we kind of are connected through the seasons and what we might do, even with the same ingredient. Mm-hmm. That's really fun to do. I love harvesting and giving that to, different people or celebrating different cultures. We have like Dia de los Muertos coming up, and, lots of things with this, what do we have? Thanksgiving kind of things today, Indigenous Peoples Day. So great. We get to talk about things that are really more in that vein of what is here that people are walking over and, learning so many new things, like that mushroom today. So now this whole season, I'm like, oh, there's more. I can see them. And I didn't even recognize them before. And then, even things like we talked about where the plants are so useful in so many ways. So if we're going to cook, we need fire. And so I have a friend that was just here that teaches a lot of primitive skills, he says, or Stone Age skills. So he was showing me how to put together a fire kit. So how to find the spindle wood and how to find the fireboard wood. And so I had him helping me work on a creek project. And so we were there, and he's like, oh, there's a patch of this horseweed, and so I was like, great. So we harvested those, and we're going to make the spindles. And then the willow is a really good, or poplar, creek trees are great at the fireboard because they'll catch, the spark well. Mm-hmm. And then we looked at, maybe an elderberry spindle is great. And then obviously we know with elderberries, like I was looking at my freezer yesterday, I was like, I have a huge bag of elderberries sitting there. It's like, I forgot about those. And so, the berries we can eat or the flowers we can use for things. So
crazy to think of how many centuries we've been living by fire, right?
Fire's a deep one, yeah.
Literally the last 25 years, we've become afraid or fearful of fire. And I mean, of course, obviously the media and the wildfires terrify us, right? But so many of us I live by fire. And I mean, we have people now that are living in homes that, don't even have.
They're not allowed to have.
They're not allowed to have fire, and so look at how the culture has changed, but yet people don't realize how different food becomes by not having the access to fire, but also how cleaning fire is and how useful in so many different ways fire is. And fire is manageable, right? Because centuries have used fire as a tool, whether it's a cooking tool or a landscape tool or a, control. Gathering culture, light. It's been so much. And at the same time, not fire is not only cooking, but we talked about the benefits of what it does with plants, but it also, provides so much difference. I've noticed that, I drive to Creston every couple of days, and where the fires have burned previously out off of, that chaparral and that growth out there, you should see how vibrant and green the pines or the oaks that have survived those fires, how healthy they are. There's not a lot of understory yet because those fires were pretty hot and they melted. But it's crazy to actually see that cleaning of that fire.
Well, after this rain, we'll see some fire followers, and that'll be
definitely
really good.
And so, and to understand, we can sit here and talk recipes and stuff all day long, but it's also those tools that we need to have to be able to carry these things. Yeah. Pine nuts. I'm noticing the pines that produce the pine nut to the east are beautiful
Yeah,
this
the
year.
pinions are the best nut. It's the smallest, it's kind of the biggest nut that there is, and it's not a very big cone. So that was definitely the prize.
And then for me, and
crop.
exposure to living on the west side, more coastal mountain ranges, the moisture that we have been receiving the last 5 years. I mean, we've had some record breakers, but then also some pretty consistent moisture. I cannot tell you how beautiful the rose hips are this year.
Yeah.
And so you guys have a recipe for rose hips? Want to share some recipe for California rose hips?
Yeah, go ahead, Shawnee. Let's hear.
Jelly, right? Rose hip jelly.
How do you
Sugar and
just cook them down? Add sugar. Yeah.
yeah, you have to strain them because they have a lot of seeds in them too. But also they're delicious right off the vine.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
That's how I eat them.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. I'll be on a
Fresh
run.
vitamin C.
Yeah, you could be on a hike, you could be on a trail, and there's a really great hit of vitamin C, and energy. But that's one of my favorite things when you're harvesting your own food, whether it's something you're growing or something you're foraging and finding, in the woods or, the beach or something. It's so fun because you get to see it through all these stages. So like you said, with bay, well, yeah, all year you can get bay leaves, and it's a really great ingredient. It's like 3 times stronger than sweet bay, the Laurus nobilis, the Mediterranean bay. But, this special time of year where they go into fruiting and they're making these bay nuts, and then you have that ingredient to use. And I didn't know that part of the husk was really edible because they're just sort of this green,
I
almost
had no idea.
like an avocado or a walnut, like any
Yeah.
other nut would be. It has that coating, and then you kind of find it inside. But
And they're beautiful. And the sad thing is for the more central or eastern side of our county, people don't realize bays used to grow there as well, too. I mean, Westside Paso, Salinas, up to the Salinas River, there was bays that used to grow, but there isn't the bay as much now.
Yeah,
as
I
they
think
were.
it
So
really loves.
It's more towards the west side.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
loves a certain moisture
It
levels
does. The
and stuff.
coastal
and-
influence.
But the roses, one of my favorite. I think we just found a good patch when we were in Big Sur spearfishing the other day, and we're coming out the trail, and there it was, and they're so abundant. The rose hips,
awesome
and then
this year.
you can pick that different, kind of peak freshness, like we're saying, or different varieties. So you're like, oh, this one's really sun dried and ready, to be a little fruit
They're
chew.
like that big this year too.
Oh, man.
Right
Big.
now, right now is the time.
They're
too,
so
for those
starting to
roses.
turn that orangey color, and it's so beautiful. And yes, listen to us, you guys. You obviously, to all our listeners, you guys obviously see that we're the 3 of us are, how much we love to be in our kitchens. We love to be outdoors just as much, and I think the wilder the better, right? I feel like I'm more at peace when it's wild and natural, and out with nature, and we're here to just stimulate these conversations within our community to be familiar with your surroundings, be familiar with your neighbors, who are your neighbors, do you know, and enjoy and reward yourself with learning from your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly right. You always have opportunity, but also many hands make light work. So I think that's something that's so much like, with Toyon was coming up, then the winter time. So
okay, so why do they call it
harvesting those.
Christmas berry? I'm just going to put it out there. Where is there a story that is always called Toyon Christmas berry? Do you guys know the story behind that one?
I mean,
No, I don't have any idea.
I know just, that time of year, those trees are red and green. So you're driving down the freeway and you're seeing those colors. And so, Hollywood too.
Yep.
So Hollywood got its name from that. So, I mean, that's
Hollybush,
a really beautiful plant that is just getting ready to bloom or, fruit in the next couple months.
Do you have a recipe for Toyon?
I've used them a
No.
few times.
No, I've
I don't
never.
know anything
You know
about
what?
Toyon.
One of the aunties, when we did some Shoematch Kitchen events, Jeanette would do like a gastrique. So if you sort of make them into a syrup, really nice.
Yeah.
And then when we did a bunch of volunteer native plantings, we did some snacks for everybody. And we made sort of this acorn Toyon energy balls. So we sort of mixed them with a date, like a juju bee. And then we add a little bit of almond butter and some other seasonings into that. And then we would kind of, pick the seeds and get them down a little bit and stuff. So, and those, you got to be careful because the seeds have a little bit of cyanide in them. So it's like you want to kind of clean those But, you
So
know,
do apples.
there
well,
is
you don't want
that.
to eat a lot of them all winter. You know, you could get it would build up.
Yes,
I
over
mean, it's
time.
not like it's gonna kill you in the
I think,
first
Okay, I
one.
just thought of a couple fun things.
What's that?
Hummingbird sage makes a
Yes.
lovely tea. It makes a
Oh,
delightful
smells so good.
syrup. Uh,
From the leaf?
medicinal.
From the leaf or the flower?
The leaf or the flower, both.
Okay.
They're fantastic. And another one that makes a lovely tea is woolly blue currant.
Mm.
And you can also make a syrup with those. But I just thought of something. If I could plug a community dinner that's coming up, that I just am going to put Josh on the spot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
named our cooking team, Josh. It's
Okay.
the Celine and Feast Weavers.
Oh wow.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's time for a feast. It's feasting season, so
that's okay.
Yeah.
she
So
wrote
when,
me into a
when
something.
and
Yeah, tell me
where?
when because I don't remember.
We volunteered
What
to
time?
cook for the SAVA, San Antonio Valley Historical Association annual dinner at Lockwood, November 8th.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
So like two,
So,
2.5 weeks away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
we can
gonna
share
have-
more about that as it comes up.
What's the purpose? What are you
Speaker that
gathering?
night is Michael Woody from our tribe, the Slinnen tribe of Monterey and San Luis Obispo County. He's going to talk about his take on, I mean, I don't know exactly what, but the Salinan people.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're doing food,
Yep.
the
Awesome.
fun part.
Yeah, they just got the federal recognition. I think he was really working towards that, and he loves sharing a lot of
Yeah.
history. I've heard him speak about a lot of things before. So, yeah, what a great backdrop too. So we'll be
That's an
there.
opportunity for us to toy around with some things and actually, you know, I'm a big proponent of learning the ingredients and just
Oh, we lost
Oh,
her. Shawnee, come on.
Okay.
Oh, yes, there she is.
somebody tried to call me.
They have to wait. You're on the air right now. Okay,
She's magic. She
so
portaled back.
let's talk about this community dinner
Yeah.
again a little. So where is it located at?
In Lockwood,
Okay, at location in Lockwood, because
at the community center in Lockwood.
Community Center Lockwood, November 8th. Do you guys have a time?
I don't remember, but Sava has a website. I think it's sava.org.
Okay.
And
Selena.
is there tickets or anyone else wants to come, or we have a lot of people there already RSVP'd?
Yeah, I don't know
For the
that
community,
part.
yeah,
They
okay.
have, I don't know what their limit is,
Yeah.
how many people they can have, but they're still advertising it as get your tickets now. So
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Okay, I'm gonna go get my.
$40 for dinner.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna invite you to. If you don't come, I'm gonna just bring them to you. So I would love to share some of our rose hips. So
Yeah.
you guys know where I'm at. I'm in the York Mountain region, right? So that is, homeland of the tribe, right? So I would have woolly blue foliage.
Maybe your bay nuts, we said.
Yeah, so rose hips, Trichostum and lantana, which is woolly blues.
Yeah.
I would have the foliage because they don't bloom. They bloom early spring.
Mm-hmm.
I have Salvia spathacea, which is hummingbird sage. I have that coming out of my
That's
ears
like my
right now.
favorite smelling plant. I tell people. So
we
that'd be a great
can we
syrup or
just go for a
something.
hike on my property and we'll forage
yeah.
but at the same time I have tons of things I would love to basket and be able to stimulate the ideas, and we're gonna write down, and if it's this event that we're gonna motivate us to do some recipes for this would be kind of fun, right?
Yeah, maybe
So-
we can promote the menu and other stuff the weeks coming up here.
Yeah, I mean,
Shawnee and I
I
can talk and
have things on that proproperty that I can't identify, right? So I need.
yeah, I would really love to go to visit your
Yeah.
part of the neck of the woods right now is just like you said, that west side, the fall, things are all ripening. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of a catch-all period to get a lot of things, especially seeds and stuff. So
Yeah.
And I haven't been on your ranch since 1979.
I know. I was gonna say she knows where I live because she
yeah.
was friends with my sister-in-law, so she knows where I'm at.
so she's due
But,
for visit.
okay, but in 1979 there was horses on it, and not a girl that was all about restoration and preservation. And I've been on the ranch since 1990. So look at how we've had the years. The backside of the property are maintained but preserved. So we can, we're not taking out. What's really abundant this year was Yerba Buena, of course,
Nice.
but then Coyote Mint, which is
Oh yeah.
you know,
Monardella.
Monadella, but it's the really silver. It's thick, matted, beautiful, big, flat purple flowers.
Big old mint flowers.
Mentally, like nobody's business,
Yeah.
right? Like it's so
Musky
stimulating.
almost more than mint.
Yeah, stimulating, and but then also too, guys, snowberries. You know, tons of the white snowberries this year. So, you know, my neighbors,
That's how
all
we'll
of
get
us
the
neighbors
quail
are
on
very.
the menu. We'll give them the
Oh,
snowberries.
and I raise quail. You know, there we go. You know, I
didn't know that.
yes, I have quail. We've
That's
been
a great local ingredient too,
raising
yeah.
quail for my Simon and I, Crescent Valley Meats, have been raising quail and quail eggs for a couple years now, and we're good and established with it now. And it's crazy because around here locally, I'm having to teach a lot of, you know, what are quail? Why would you eat it? You know, what do you do with it? So I'm teaching a lot of that. But, you know, we have an Asian market to the north that begs us for them. And also just different restaurants of different ethnicities that want it Southern California. So hopefully one day we can stimulate people here locally that
Yeah, we just need a little education.
yes.
I have to confess, I've been
Educating people in that county for a couple of years because I have a friend in Winters who grows quail. And I've been hauling him down there, but only because I didn't know you were growing them.
Yeah.
And we barbecue them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So give a recipe. How do you
What's
prepare
a
them?
good way to prepare quail that you like?
He bones them out.
and so it's the whole little bird, and we put it down bone side.
Okay.
Like spatchcock
and we
kind
just-
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just baste them with beer, soy sauce, and garlic.
A little bit of olive oil.
And glaze that skin up, get it crispy.
Yeah. Lots of soy sauce, browns them. I call them mahogany quail.
Yeah,
Because
it's like
that's what color they are when they're
it's a nice
finished.
dark
But
meat.
I admire your friend that can bone them out. My guys can bone them out. I've tried many times, but I always find one because quail is not easy to bone out. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a talent again. Another resource that we are lacking. You know, people think you
Skills.
can just because you have a knife, you can cut things, right? But people don't realize, you know, even the tribes, right? They milled their rocks to be able to fit,
Yeah,
or
stone
their
points. My friend
shells
uses a lot
or
of stone
whatever
points
to
for
cut
everything. Yeah.
to cut what they needed, right? It wasn't just a knife that they used, and you know, different chefs now too. We have different knives that suit what we're trying to do, and it's a talent that is not easy to find. Like how we sit here and talk about getting creative with the recipes that we have.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking we always have to go get them, we get creative with naturally what's around us. But it's just the same way with our tools too. It's like, how do we?
Yeah.
You got to be familiar with the resource, and then you got to create the tools that we need to use for that prep work that
I think
what we're
there's
trying to
such
do.
a whole process of like knowing where your food comes from. Like I had to process my first deer this fall, and then fish, so filleting them. We went up to Big Sur and we caught some trout by hand, Shawnee. It was really fun. Friend showed me how to find the fish when they get scared, and you go in there and you can grab them. And so, there's just so many great things when you're finding that whole resource. Like you said, we're getting the husk, or we're
Just
getting the
appreciate it
flour.
more.
Yeah, exactly. And just the know-how, like I said, learning to make fire, making fire kits. That's just like, that's the trifecta now for me. I'm like, okay, now I can make something no matter where we are, and we can really raise it up from that. And I've been seeing some really great Instagram sort of food porn with these people. This really great Aussie chef. She's like from Tassie, and she cooks outdoor and whole fires and like does asado style with displayed, kind of whole animals. But she just has these rebar racks, and she's hanging pineapples and fruits and corns. You're putting gourds and squash in the ground, and she's just using fire to cook. And she's putting really great big fish like yellowtail tuna on logs, and kind of really using like the wood again as a smoke. The wood is
Yeah.
part of our tools and
That's
technology.
what we use to smoke things. That's how
Right?
we get our tannins in the smoke to be able to preserve our foods. You
Yeah,
know,
or using fruit woods is awesome, or different hardwoods. I've been using some manzanitas and other things lately to make fire, and I was like really happy. I was like, wow, everything to make this fire came from within a small radius. It was like, again, the fire making tools, the wood. Then the wood we burned was oak and manzanita and ceanothus. So we had a bunch of things that are just that resource, and you have. You can't unsee it. So when we went on a hike with some friends, just a walk there visiting town, but me and my friend who had taught me to make fire was like, oh, look at all this tinder. And then, as always, I guess I have it on me actually too. I forgot. It's like, you got to find some dried mugwort, and then you have to keep that in your pocket because this is what you put your coal into, and it holds it really well. So whenever you see the dried mugwort, I was driving to my sister's wedding up on top of a hill in the Irish Hills. And I was like on the side of the road, I was looking to stop. I was like, oh my God, there's a ton of dry mugwort. Like, what a great resource, where that's a plant that's great fresh, but also the dry is a great tool.
That's another plant this year that is abundant, is the Artemisia douglasii and that mugwort.
Yeah.
And it is...
Mugwort got happy
It
this
got
year. Yeah.
the flower. I don't think I've ever seen it flower this beautiful this year. Tall, stocky, white, and then all of a sudden it just went yellow.
Beautiful.
And then it's got a ton of seed. The roots are thick this year.
Yeah.
So you can just drive our road and just it's literally thick on
Yeah.
the side of the road. So
Yeah, that's a great medicine, as well as things from lucid dreams to antidote to poison oak
it's an
to
antiseptic.
fire
Yeah.
starter. I mean, what isn't the mugwort doing for us?
And then have you noticed though that most of our true herbs, native herbs, carry multiple medicinal purposes? But
Yeah,
then
they
people,
almost all do everything.
yeah, and like the all heal.
Well, that
which is-
happens all around the world, but it's like, where are you that you would know, or who could you know to understand that? And so we've been here so long, we're starting to know these plants well. We go somewhere else, we'd have to be taught or learn.
Can you imagine
way.
if we created a society that you don't have to know the in depth like we do? We can't just sit here and share recipes, and I'm throwing an ingredient out at you, and you're creating a recipe with me. I mean. Most people don't do that. But if we could get most people to be familiar with what they're standing on, familiar with what's growing around them or living around them, and to be resourceful within, I think that people would make different choices when it comes to their own survival and the way that their quality of life would be. The sense of purpose, the
Yeah.
sense of a fulfilled life, that we're all trying to work for, I think would be different if we actually could really just entice and stimulate. And nobody will ever argue that when I tell them what my two most favorite plants are, and you listed both of them, because I said the reason why these two are my favorite plants amongst all the plants that I grow is because what I get from them the moment I touch them. And it's either the feel or the smell or the taste. And
The moment, right?
And
That's
it's
just that season.
the Salvia spethecia and the
yes.
woolly blue curls and hummingbird sage are my two most favorite plants.
We know where
And
you're from now.
all the plants that I grow. I mean, I grow European herbs. I grow Japanese herbs. I grow, all the different types of cultures of Asian herbs, right? Because Chinese medicine has been for
Fierce.
how many generations and centuries,
Millennia,
and their writings, right? Like I can open up a book of Chinese medicine, and it's going to tell me what I should be using lavender
Yeah.
for. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that the Chinese have done when it comes to plants and medicine.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know they have recipes for horsetail, and we have horsetail, on our creek banks today. Like I was
And we
looking
have
at
a
that,
lot
and-
of the same species. It's just different, culturally different, right? Just like
Yeah.
they're culturally different, but we're the same. But that's, but they have the writing. So I open these books and they have all this, but it's crazy to me the amount of knowledge that we should be capturing every day from our true California native ancestrals, whether it's humans, plants, soils, all the
Places,
seeds.
mountains,
And it's because I think that once we understood a little bit more what grounds us where we are, I think that people would be able to understand how important the simple things of preserving and conserving and understanding water, right? Just because you have a well doesn't mean you need to pump it, right? Because it's changing cultures.
Yeah.
You know, when we're bringing so much water up from the surface, or from under into the ground to the surface, we're changing things, right? No matter what you want to say, we're changing things.
Yeah, Los Osos, we have the saltwater intrusion, so that's very difficult
yet,
with our aquifer.
If you knew how to grow soil, you wouldn't need to pump water, right? Look at for how many years, centuries.
Yeah, animal manure could be, equals more water, or shade equals more water, depths of soil.
You know, we didn't have any of that. And yes, and then the animal movement across, our terrains or terroirs. If you're in the wine industry, it's all about terroir. But at the same time, it's understanding the migration of animal movement. I was just at a raw dog food summit. We make pet food from our animal byproducts. And it was crazy because all of the speakers wanted to talk about healthy soils that those animals are coming from when you're sourcing your dog food. It was so much fun because it was like, for me, for all these years, it's always been about healthy soils to feed humans, right? Now I get to hear these humans going, guys, your pets are not healthy because they're over medicated and malnourished. And it was like, they're like,
yeah, getting advice from around the world.
The
right?
Irish guy that was super cute. Oh my God, he was good looking, so it was really easy to listen to him. But it was funny because all he talked about was, how important is simplicity is. Being familiar what naturally grows or you just listen to your dog. If your dog's gonna go, this is funny. If your dog's gonna go out and eat poop, it obviously knows what it needed. You know what I mean? They explained why dogs do that, but it's funny because he also said, dogs' sensories are something we should learn from. If your dog doesn't eat it, why would you keep feeding it to him? So it was, a lot of talk like that, but it was all about how healthy the soil was. And it was not having the same thing on the soil. It was migration, moving. You did that, everything in a little bit of moderation, seasonal.
Well, I think what I've really coming to find out more and more, the more that I am in the woods or spending time, like you said, just outdoors or in the ocean or anywhere where we're gathering food. But it's like, I'm going to the beach today. I'm going to go, get in the water. I'm going to, hang in the sand. I'm going to do things. But then there's so many times we're picking mussels down there, or maybe, we're fishing or diving or something. And it's as easy as like just going and picking berries, like you're saying, picking the sour berries, or, picking flowers. Like I had my kids help me for my sister's wedding. So it was like, we got to go pick flowers from all over the gardens that I have. We got to pick food on the way up there. We needed cherry tomatoes and all these things. And so then they are out there helping me at that first stage. And they've been doing that their whole life since they were little. And I was always amazed, like being in nature with them. And like, my 18-month-old would go out and be foraging through the strawberries and picking and looking for them. So I think that's where this knowledge base is. And so it's like, it is so simple. If you can go out and you can, get friends like we talked about, we're going to go walk in the woods together. And so we're going to be looking at all the things we want to harvest or eat or use or just see and appreciate and enjoy. So we'll be getting our exercise. We'll be getting our health. So that's why I always say there's like that triple bottom line of all this investment return, like what you're putting your time or energy or money into. So you have your economic, social, and environmental payoffs. And so, yeah, it's really, if we could tell people, oh, how do you get this ingredient? Oh, go walk in the woods or the garden. Then I think we can really spread it.
Yep.
And that's kind of what it takes, because it's all around us. This is dripping. Like I saw that plant that makes the fire when I was getting off the freeway from going to my kids' like homecoming game. And I was getting on the freeway and Adrian, I was like, oh, I could go harvest that right now. I could get
it's funny too,
this
because
thing.
again, learning this and teaching this, I think the amount of people that I'm talking to now that fear fire, right? I fear fire insurance. I don't fear fire.
Yeah,
but
that's
at the
scary.
same time, it's like, teaching this, that plants actually do spark. People don't realize that in certain environments, but it's being aware of it.
Ooh, cattail's really fun to make.
Yeah, they spark it and glow
and get the seeds.
But it's taking people like us who are stimulated and wanting to learn. And Shawnee, you're an amazing teacher, whether it be in just hanging out with you or in the kitchen with you. And Josh,
I'm going for a lesson. Yeah,
and Josh is raided kitchen, and I find Shawnee in the kitchen helping you with one of your pop-ups.
Yeah,
and so,
yeah, that was fun. Thank you again, Shawnee.
But honestly, like, if I can't just here on the air invite us to be closer together, to be able to, instead of going, we're going to do this event and we're going to make this. No. How about come and join us? Whatever we harvest, whatever is available on that time, we're going to teach and we're going to share and we're going to enjoy. And we're
Yeah.
going to be a community, and we're going to be able to write things down and capture that, put them in lock and safe, and hold on to our traditions and hold on to our knowledge. Because what was once before can only be carried down if we keep sharing, right? And keep stimulating to be able to know what is real and what is not, right? You can't argue when it's sitting right in front of you, right? And when you can smell it, you can taste it, you can feel it. It's there. And so I'm super excited. I want to go to this November 8th event.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go after here, go on say it again, say the website again, Shawnee, so we can get it out there.
Sometimes I get the H and the V mixed up. It's SAVA, and I think it's
San Antonio Valley Historical Association.
so
Got
it's SAVHA.org.
Okay. Awesome.
That's
What
November
about
8th.
Yeah. So what about that menu or other favorite things that you are looking forward to this season or have been finding this year, or any other things to share?
Well, I have a friend who knows someone who works the animals for hunters, so he has some elk bones that he got me.
So it's all about kind of
Sharing the abundance. It's something that some
people would throw away. They bone an animal out and they throw the
bones away.
Yeah.
I want them.
Yeah.
You know, if I go to a pier anywhere along the Pacific Ocean, I go straight down to the pier and ask people for their fish heads, because fish head soup is amazing. I don't like to waste anything. And then, the recipes, because I have the skills, I think it's all about, like you were talking about, knowing your tools, knowing your skills, knowing where to find the food, being hooked up with good friends. If you're not going to grow the food, know someone who does. Make friends with a gardener. Go to the farmer's market. And, sometimes recipes and plans and diets and all of that complicate things for commodity. They want to sell you the extra stuff. And if you have basic ingredients, that's Sarah Glover that does all the cool stuff with the fire. It's
that
basic.
was her. Yeah.
And she'll put the fancy with a syrup or a sauce or a powder.
Or use the
a cook,
pumpkin as the base for a pie or something, like just the
so
shell.
beautiful. Who needs
Yeah.
the fancy bowl,
Or the
So
wheat.
it's about teaching people to be connected. And when
Yeah.
you start talking about the indigenous people, well, there's indigenous people from all over the world, and we all have ancestors. And at one time, all people were much closer to Earth than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
We're clouded with ideas of convenience and, it doesn't matter, calorie in, calorie out. And, I was once in a city meeting here in Winters, California, and a bunch of us on one side, we were saying, yeah, we'll line the streets with apricots, and the kids can pick free apricots. And the city manager is over there going, because he didn't want the mess.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are buying all these landscape plants and putting them everywhere. Why not have edible things? And just
Being closer to our food, or knowing where it comes from, and I think sharing that with the generations. And it's so great, the ideas that Melanie's been talking about lately of creating this vintage club where we talk about, you need these tools, or you need, these moments of the year and seasons to come together so that we can, look forward to this harvest and this, thing, like with the olive harvest coming up and
November 15th.
sharing.
So I have a harvest festival.
We got
event
something to
on
do every week here.
November 1st. It's called
We're
November.
gonna eat well.
And then
this
November
holidays.
8th, I'm hanging out with you and Shawnee.
There we go.
And then November 15th, you guys are coming to Nature's Touch. And I think we should plan something that we're going to cook something at Nature's Touch on the 15th, because with olive oil, right? And because how many generations and centuries has olive oil been in in culture, whether you be Greek,
Yeah.
Italian, there's so many different, and
Yeah,
people
all
don't
the whole
understand olive
region.
oil is olive juice, right? So it's a fruit juice, but we tend to call it olive oil. But
I'm thinking of an olive oil, acorn, bay nut, elderberry cake.
Okay.
And I'm not joking.
that sounds amazing.
All right, okay, we're gonna talk about this.
I might have some dried elderberries left.
I got a
too.
ton in the
You do?
freezer.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
sure
cool.
I got
Shawnee.
some in the freezer.
Yeah, she got hers.
My mother-in-law, Miss Canyon Woman, has made jars of elderberry syrup, and what started this conversation too, Shawnee, is there was a grapevine that was on the property when my in-laws moved there, so 60s, right? Well, that grape had stories from the summer kids that had migrated
Italians
through
or someone.
that had migrated through the canyon, right? Somebody planted a stalk somewhere early 1900s. And then my mother-in-law makes jam from it, and people want to know what type of grape that is. And she's like, red. Because
Wild.
it's not
Backyard variety.
nobody knows, right? But she just knows that it's red. It's very seedy. It's similar to a wine grape, but it gets plumpy.
And there's a seed in it or no?
Yeah, one
Yeah.
like one little seed, but it actually germinates. I've germinated them.
Oh, awesome.
So I've rotted the fruit, and I've
Yeah.
germinated the seed, and so it definitely germinates. So it's
Grapes would be fun. I just had a wild grape we're gonna plant into this creek restoration so that we have some of that there now that we
Yep.
can use. And
people don't
Wild
realize.
grapes are so beautiful.
yeah, especially north of here, I feel like the grapes all the way up to the bay, there was always a lot.
Yeah, there's a
Like Napa,
It's
have a
not
lot of wild
it's
grapes.
not a California native grape, because the California native grape is tiny, and I've seen the grape
It's
wild.
like a Concord.
Yes, very similar to a Concord. This
Yeah.
is red. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
purple.
yours is definitely came
Yeah, somebody
over. But
put a stalk in the
I was
ground.
just saying the wild ones are great too and fun, and
Yeah.
so
People don't realize how much native fruit it is. It's not like the European fruit, but it's because we don't know it, because we haven't become accustomed to it.
yeah.
Right? Don't fear something you don't know. And that's, you say things like tannin, or, these words, or, I'm sorry, I forgot the chemical that you said if you eat it over time, you're exposed to it. But
Oh, like arsenic.
yeah, arsenic, and it's in our soils. It's what it is. Over time, a buildup, and if we are eating the same things over and over again, this is when we tend to worry about these things. But if you're eating things seasonally, you don't need to, because you're
Yeah.
going to get a little bit of this, you're going to get a little bit of that. It's not going to be the
Well, like the
overabundance.
toyon berries are kind
There it
of,
is.
sometimes they can be bland. Berries weren't bred like, all these other cultivated type of things. So it's nice to mix them together or things like that. So yeah, like elderberry and blackberry, crumbles or pies. We're definitely doing a food dinner coming up that some people wanted to, for their conference on grizzly bears, have sort of a grizzly bear diet dinner. So like, what would a grizzly bear eat? So it's been really fun getting to work with, salmon that we, caught locally, or venison locally, and then elderberries and all things. I mean, bears have really been our teachers over the years. I have lots of, relatives that really like bear clan people and bear dancers, and they love.
So we
the
really
bears
quickly,
taught
because
us.
we're at time, but I want, Shawnee, before we go away, I want to also invite you to one more thing. So Crescent Valley Meats, our meat processing plant, we get hunters in all the time that we're processing their wild game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those. What is
Yeah.
it? I can't see what it was. What is it?
It's manzanita
Oh,
berries.
those are manzanita berries. Perfect. But I'm laughing because I'm thinking about something that I'm going to stimulate you both. We can't legally sell wild game, right? It's against state and federal laws. But I have a
Sure can
ton
eat
of
it.
wild hunters, right? That go, whether deer, elk, wild pig. We process their meat, and they're constantly asking me for recipes. And with you saying elk bones and making broth and doing that kind of stuff, I want to generate a resource group for them as well, so that none of that
yeah.
wild game ever goes wasted, right? So they bring it to us, we process, we give it back to them processed or cut, right?
Yeah.
I'm sad for them at times when they come to pick it up, and I can't give them enough resource on how to use it all. So I'm going to stimulate this with both of you guys to be able to connect,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
And
that's
create
such
a wild game resource guide on how to utilize the whole entire animal. Okay.
Yeah, because we haven't really got into a lot where like jewelry. Johnny and I were with some friends the other day that make a lot of, native jewelry. And so they're like, I need some deer antlers. Get us as much deer antlers as we can. And the manzanita berries, like we were talking about, but, the hooves.
Yeah.
You can use the toes. You can use lots of parts. You can
Make a
use
rattle.
the foot, for holding fans or other things. So there's so much abundance when you're really processing the whole
I'm planting the
animal
seed
or plants.
in all
Yeah,
three of
love
us.
it.
Okay, guys. So there's obviously
I'm
Sean.
game.
Okay, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
come and be a regular with us.
Yeah, Miguel, put up our website for the club.
Vintage Club.
So yeah, wanting people to gather at Nature's Touch.
Yep.
So that we can pass these things on or do these things in person. We could do this, on the trail. We could do this in the kitchen. We could do this, together is really what it's going to take, I think, to make all of our knowledge bases grow and be able to share in the process.
Yep.
So.
And that's where to see what happens. Shawnee knows when Melanie
Thank you, Shawnee.
when Melanie gets an idea, watch out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
So,
what's happening?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you got to come visit more, as she said.
Yes, you're.
We're going to feed you.
We're here at the studio every Monday, Sean. So just tell me the next time
Yeah.
you're available, and we're gonna have you on because we're gonna create this. But then my Vintage Club is supposed to launch on November 1st. I'm putting it out there so we can start gathering ideas and gathering resources. You are our first introduction to a resource that we feel incredibly important to capture the knowledge and start, just writing it down and being a part of the group. The exchange, whether it be recipes, tools, but just knowledge, right? We're going to exchange knowledge for
Local
knowledge.
knowledge.
Yes. So come home safely, and we'll see you here locally from so hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Josh, we got a final thought really quick. Are you?
Yeah, no, I'm just grateful that we got the time today. So I'm glad that, we could recognize all that we have here, so just, really
We're
happy.
very lucky.
Yeah, for us to have so many, ways to get to a happy and healthy life, that we can share with all.
I'm getting ready to get ready for this big storm that we're
Oh, yeah.
It felt like it was
Batten
brewing
down the
when
hatches.
when we were walking in. I was like, ooh, I can feel it. So
Yeah, I can't wait for what's going to pop up from this.
we'll
So
go do the rain
some good
dance
rain.
and go on to this next season. So thank
Yeah.
you guys. Thank you for all of
Okay.
our listeners that are out there and the continued support. We got a huge response from last week's show and
Yeah.
acknowledgement. So thank you again and stay tuned.
Okay.
See y'all
Bye,
soon.
Shawnee.
Bye.
Bye.